Thank you and welcome to the show for today. The topic this morning is managing diabetes. And we're fortunate to have to talk to us about managing diabetes and some of the other problems and complications associated with this disease, Ms. Consuela Greene. Ms. Greene is a health educator at Matthew Walker Comprehensive Health Center in Nashville, Tennessee. And of course, Ms. Greene, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you.
And to tell you, Ms. Greene, how delighted we are to have you here, and to indicate to our audience this morning that we're dealing with a very, very important topic.
Very much so.
And that's the topic of diabetes. And of course, we're talking about managing diabetes this morning, Ms. Greene. But before we get into that, Ms. Greene, let's see if we can have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in your life that eventually led you here. And then we'll talk about other things.
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to your show. I am Consuela Greene, and I am the health educator at the Matthew Walker Health Center with the Nashville Reach 2010 project. I am over 2 teams there, the Access to Healthcare team as well as the screening team. And I've actually been employed by Matthew Walker since my internship there. I worked, I did my internship through Tennessee State University, and after completion of my degree with the Bachelor of Science in Healthcare Administration and Planning, Miss Mars, the late Miss Michelle Mars, as well as Miss Linda McClellan, they seen something in me that I actually didn't see in myself. And from that point, we had the administrative assistant position, and I've moved on up to now the community health educator's position. And so it's just a pleasure working in that community with the underserved populations, and I've learned so much. I actually live in the North Nashville area, and I've lived and been a native of Nashvilleian all my life, and so just being birthed from that experience and being able to work with them, it's just a joy.
And so you're almost, in a real sense, almost at home in terms of what you're doing.
Definitely,
is that right, Ms. Greene?
Definitely.
Very good. You know, when we talk about, and as a healthcare educator, not only do you have some information relative to diabetes, it means that you're also involved with just a whole variety of other health concerns, I would imagine.
Yes, definitely, but particularly we're working with diabetes and cardiovascular disease. As I mentioned, I'm with the Nashville Reach 2010 project, and that project is actually birthed out of Matthew Walker Health Center along with other partnering organizations. It was funded in 1999 from the former administration, Dr. David Satcher, and his design was to have elimination of disparities among minority groups in the United States, and so Nashville was actually just one of those communities that was received funding to eliminate these disparities. And so we're primarily focusing with the North Nashville area, African Americans, because we are the ones who have a higher death rate due to these 2 diseases. And so I'm definitely a part of this community, and just being able to see how we have such a devastation with these 2 diseases. It's a joy to be able to go back into health.
You know, let's look at, before we talk about how these diseases are managed, let's look at diabetes as a disease itself, and give us some of the problems that are generally associated with it, and some of the causes, and so whatever you generally tell people in reference to this disease.
Well, I think the first thing we have to understand is the definition of diabetes, what it is, and just without going into the technical terms, just layman's terms, it's the inability of the body to produce insulin, make little or no insulin. And so diabetes affects the entire body. It's just not one specific area, but it affects the entire body as a whole. And with that, it affects the entire population. I would say some of the risk factors involved with it is not eating healthy, a lack of exercise, and of course with African Americans, we are sometimes primarily the population that does not eat as healthy as we should, sometimes due to the culture that we were birthed out of, some of the exercises, not being able to go to the gym, and just not doing and following what the physician has told us to do. So those are just some of the risk factors primarily that we can look at that can also be contributing factors to other diseases. And so that's why diabetes is a serious disease and it's so important.
So it has a real impact upon the entire body, and so that's why we're getting ready for our first commercial break here, Ms. Greene. But when we come back in about a half a minute, we'll have you to talk about this disease as you find this disease. That is, I understand that there's a type A and type B and that kind of, you know, sort of give us that kind of technical information and reference, so that those individuals who are out there will have some idea in terms of where they fall, because I think that, as you undoubtedly know, that there are a large number of folks out there who might have diabetes,
yes,
but at least they're not reacting to some of the things that are necessary in order to make them. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Is managing diabetes.